In this video, I'm going to go through the Season 2 patch notes, try to condense down all the information, all the important things, so you guys can get all the information that you need. We're getting a few new weapons with Season 2. The very first is this ISO Hemlock. It's an assault rifle. They don't say too much about it, so we will have to see. We'll get that up on TGD as soon as possible. Next up, we have the KV Broadside Shotgun. This is another new weapon for Season 2. Both these so far are unlockable from the Season 2 Battle Pass. They're there for free. But yeah, this looks kind of like the Origin 12, like a semi-automatic shotgun, so this could be pretty powerful, but we'll see. We've also added back in the dual Kodachis. We had these in Warzone 1, as well as the crossbow. So that's a new Marksman rifle, same as the crossbow from Modern Warfare 19 and Warzone 1. This might be a one-shot headshot weapon, we'll have to see, but always a fun weapon to mess around with. So as far as tuning goes, basically I'm going to summarize this for you. It sounds like they thought that tuning in Season 1 just didn't have enough of an impact, so they're going to increase the pros of tuning and increase the cons of tuning as well. So if you tune your weapon correctly, it's going to have a stronger effect now. So let's quickly go through weapon balancing. So assault rifles, M13B, damage range at mid-range was increased and increased upper torso damage across the board. M13 was already kind of decent, so this is probably going to be a pretty nice little buff for it. We'll have to see how much that torso damage was increased, but it could kind of sneak into an easy-to-use weapon meta choice for some people, so we'll see where that comes out. Cast-Off 762 got a little bit of a damage reduction and an additional long-range damage fall-off, so it's going to be a little bit worse than it was before. It wasn't getting too much use, but it was very similar to the RPK. It was basically the same gun without a barrel and a smaller mag, so we'll see how that plays out. Lockman 556 increase the semi-auto rate of fire. Okay, that doesn't really change anything. M4 increased the semi-auto rate of fire. If you guys remember my video from a few days ago, or probably like a week ago at this point, I found that even something like the M4 can have a different damage profile for semi-auto fire. So I think that's what they're trying to do here, is kind of get some variability in how this stuff works and give you some variance on whether or not you should be on single fire mode, even with guns like the M4 and the Lockman 556. STB556 says they fixed an issue with single tap mod magazine attachment, which caused the weapon to deal considerably less damage to the upper left leg. That's a pretty funny one to me. I'm not really sure how that even would happen. I guess maybe they manually type in multipliers or something, but that's funny. On to the battle rifles. Lockman 762 decreased full auto head and torso damage. So this is another gun that has different damage profiles when you're on automatic versus single fire. So they reduced the headshot and torso damage on fully auto. Increased semi-auto upper torso damage, so it does more damage on semi-auto. You can shoot faster on semi-auto. They've reduced the recoil on full auto, so they're really trying to push for this. So this is interesting. We'll see how this plays out. Increased damage on long range, so could be a pretty viable weapon long range now. Added minimum damage against armor, and this is something that I discovered a few videos ago again. The minimum damage against armor basically means that at the longest damage range, sometimes when you have plates on, it actually increases the damage you'll take. And they do that to adjust the weapons compared to multiplayer. So I think multiplayer, the drop-offs are the same in multiplayer as they are in Warzone, but they want to balance that out a little bit because a lot of the engagements are really long range in Warzone, DMZ. So they have to kind of increase that damage a little bit. To me, this seems like a really weird way to do this, though, because armor plates should protect you, not make you take more damage. So it's just weird, but it doesn't actually, I mean, that's kind of a realism thing, and I always say I don't care about realism. So if it works, I don't really care. It just seems a little bit weird. FTAC Recon decreased full auto upper torso damage. So again, on automatic mode, decreased the damage. Better ADS time, reduced the auto recoil, increased close range damage distance. So a little bit more damage distance in the first damage range. Increased lower torso damage multiplier, so it's just going to do more damage to the lower torso. And again, they added that weird increase to damage at range with plates. So we have private matches now in Season 2, so I'll actually be able to get in and test this stuff for you guys and hopefully get it up on TGD. It does require some rework of the programming on TGD because we've never had to do this before. There's always only ever been one damage profile, so we'll see how I do that, but it shouldn't be too hard, hopefully. SO14 increased semi-auto rate of fire, so you can shoot a little bit faster when you're on semi-auto. Increased long-range damage, so it's going to hit even harder at range now. Reduced semi-auto headshot damage, so it doesn't do as much headshot damage. They're probably kind of trying to avoid a DMR situation here by reducing that headshot damage. And then again, they added the minimum damage against armor. I think some of these guns are going to be pretty good now. Attack view was very good before. This was pretty much a meta weapon. It killed faster than the RPK, but it was just harder to control. So they decreased the mid-range damage, increased semi-auto torso damage, reduced semi-auto leg damage, and decreased full auto head damage. They say that twice for some reason. Reduced semi-auto fire rate. So in general, it looks like they've kind of nerfed it a little bit on automatic. Little bit of a buff on semi-auto, but we'll have to see how the numbers actually come out. The pistols, the automatic pistols are really, really popular, especially with the akimbo perk. So X13 Auto got a reduced damage while using akimbo, so that's a good change there. They increased lower body damage, increased close range damage, and increased damage distances. So the pistol itself will probably be better, but it looks like akimbo will most likely be worse. I sure hope akimbo is worse, because that's a big old miss if it's not a net negative to akimbo. Strela P, rocket launcher, removed activation distance for projectiles, so now it'll go off instantly if there's something right in front of you. Don't these two things mean the same thing? I think these two things mean the same thing. RPG 7 got a small buff to the damage amount, but a reduction to the damage radius around the splash hit. RPK, obviously the meta for a long time here, so we've got a reduction to the ADS movement speed, so it's going to be even heavier now than it was before when you're trying to strafe around while you're ADS'd. Reduced mid and long range damage. Nothing else to say there. It hit really hard, and the recoil was the most controllable in combination with that TTK, which gave it really, really good effective time to kill, and that's why it was the meta for so long. Reduced damage ranges, so it's going to be shorter damage range now, probably closer to like the Kastov 7.62 rather than where it sits now. And a small increased ADS time. So I think that's a good change. Hopefully it's out of the meta, because we've been using it for 3 months now. But next up we have the Raw MG, just increased recoil. I think that's good. The Raw hits super hard. I'm scared of a Raw meta happening someday, because it just hits so hard you're going to die instantly if you don't see the person. It's one of those guns that has an open bolt delay, so when you pull the trigger it doesn't fire right away, which adds to the TTK, but it doesn't matter if that's there if you don't see the person at the same time. If they see you and you don't know they're there and they pull the trigger, it doesn't matter if there's an open bolt delay. That's why on TGD it's an option to include it or not, because both situations are important. So it's one of those guns that'll just melt you if you don't see the person, and even if you do see the person, it'll still melt you, but just not quite as fast. Marksman rifles, some changes that I really like here. This will be interesting. Reduced long range damage for the EBR, increased upper torso damage. So they reduced the overall damage value for the long range, but they increased the upper torso, so you'll be rewarded for hitting those chest shots now. Again, added a minimum damage against armor, so that's going to be a buff to long range. LMS added the minimum damage against armor, again, buff to long range. TAC-M is actually really fun. I should say all of these marksman rifles use sniper ammo in this game, so that seems like a problem because you only hold 40 bullets, but it's not as much of a problem as it was in Warzone 1 because we have the backpack system now. So now you can carry an extra stack of 40. You can have 87 bullets or 80 bullets plus however many the gun holds in the magazine. So it's not as big of an issue in this game. So some of these guns might really sneak into the meta sometime soon. Specifically, I really like the TAC-M. They've made it shoot a little bit faster. They've increased the upper torso damage, and they added that long range buff to the increased damage against armor. So TAC-M could be really interesting now. I'm going to try to run that probably right away when I first play Season 2. Onto the submachine guns, the Vaznev 9K, reduced mid to long range damage, so it's still going to kill really fast up close. Basically, the Fennec, MP5, and Vaznev are the three fastest effective time to kill SMGs in that first damage range. The Vaznev was definitely up there with one of the best, but it's going to be a little bit worse mid-range, a little bit worse long-range. So that's probably like the middle drop-off of the gun, or some of the middle drop-offs since these have multiple. Have to see how that plays out once we get the numbers. Minibok. So Minibok is the PP19 Bison. This is the 64-round default mag weapon, very low recoil. It's actually pretty good. It just doesn't have that time to kill up close, which is why it wasn't meta. So they reduced the damage ranges, reduced lower torso damage at close range, reduced lower body damage at mid to close range, and then added the minimum damage against armor. So this is even pushing it worse for that close range. So I think it might be okay for something like a sniper support, but it's probably not going to be good as an SMG. Fennec 45 obviously has been the meta, and that's just, again, purely... I've talked about this millions of times at this point in my different videos, but what ends up happening in these games is people tend towards the weapons that have low recoil first, and that becomes the meta for a little bit. And then after that, for SMG specifically, they tend towards the weapons that just kill the fastest. So after the initial, oh my gosh, this gun feels good because it has no recoil, once people understand the time to kill and we find the low time to kill weapons, everyone starts using those. And that happened again with this game. Fennec 45 was just almost everyone was using it, and that's just simply because it had the best effective time to kill. Damage range, or sorry, decreased damage overall, so they've just reduced the damage values, which is good. Decreased headshot damage and added the minimum damage against armor, so it's got a little bit of a buff to range. But yeah, hopefully this just pulls it out of the meta because we've been using it for so long. Onto the sniper rifles, Signal 50, reduced sprint out speed, reduced movement speed, reduced long range damage, small decrease to bullet velocity. This makes me sad because Signal 50 was a big part of why I was starting to actually enjoy Warzone 2, and this might just kill it. We'll have to see what this means. Reduced long range damage. Hopefully you can still two-shot people pretty easily. Small decrease to bullet velocity. The way I would have balanced this probably was increasing the recoil and then decreasing the bullet velocity rather than reducing the damage. So we'll see how it goes, but hopefully it's still viable. Very fun gun, but it was overpowered. It was definitely too good, especially for mouse and keyboard players. They've made tons of UI UX improvements and adjustments. I've seen some of these already, and they do look very good, so I'm happy about that. That's something that like a lot of us just didn't even understand how it was possible that it got in the game so in such a bad state. So this is a very welcome change. Not really going to talk about multiplayer just because I tend to be a Warzone focused channel. So I'm going to quickly mention ranked play though. So ranked play looks amazing. It's for Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer at this point, but season 3.5, we're going to get ranked play in Warzone, as my video this morning showed, and I am super hyped for that. But this looks amazing. Like I've seen previews of all the rewards and all the ranks and everything, and it really, really looks good. So I'm really excited for multiplayer fans because I think this is going to be great, and I'm hoping that some of that same design leaks into the Warzone 2 space, because what I saw for multiplayer honestly looks fantastic. Obviously, we've got the new map, the new small map. I'm not going to say the name because everyone's going to correct me, but it looks great. It looks really, really good. So we'll look at some different POIs here. Oganiku Farms. This looks kind of almost like a storage town kind of area where it's just a lot of little buildings. We've got Town Center, Beach Club, and then Suki Castle. So they've made references that there's going to be a bunch of AI in the castle, which is kind of sad, but I haven't played it yet, haven't looked at it yet, so we'll see what that's like. But the map looks great. It looks really, really gorgeous. It is overcast. I'm not sure why they did that, but it's probably going to be like Rebirth Island, where they'll have different times of day maybe, or different weather for different updates and things like that. Hopefully we see some variance there. I don't really mind that it's overcast, but I just hope the map plays well. A little concerned with all the fog. I'm not sure why there's so much fog, but it is only in certain areas on the map. So we'll see how that works out. It might bring some thermals into play, stuff like that. So some new gameplay features. This is for both maps, big map, small map. We get counter UAVs now. It's a new kill streak. So it's going to be like a UAV, but it's counter UAV. Basically just scrambles the enemy's radar. So we'll see how that works, how you get it, where it comes from. But that's interesting to me. I don't love counter UAVs in general. They're just kind of annoying, but hopefully it plays well. It is kind of important right now, since it's pretty easy to get like an advanced UAV from the Black Site, to have something to counter that. So I do kind of like that they added that there. Redeploy packs. So this new tactical equipment will give players another shot at victory. They can be found in ground loot on some buy stations and are guaranteed from completing the Strongholds and Black Site missions. So I'm assuming this is just a redeploy token, just like we got towards the end of Warzone 1. People tended to like these a lot, so I'm glad that this is coming back. It's kind of one of the things, again, that made Warzone unique, is that it was pretty easy to come back after you died. Less of a BR thing. It's more of like it's not really a multiplayer thing, but kind of like trending towards that direction. And I just think that's the spot that Warzone 1 hit, with the loadouts being a unique thing that Warzone had, as well as it being pretty easy to come back after you died. There were just some things that made Warzone 1 special and unique compared to the other BRs, and I feel like they're really trending back towards that direction, and I love that. I'm really excited for the future. So I've talked about this before they've announced a lot of this stuff in the past, so I've talked about it in other videos, but cash economy's improved now, so you get You drop more cash when you eliminate somebody, and they also retain more cash. So less of the cash just vanishes when you kill someone. Overall balance change of the economy, so players can earn more cash per match. They've increased the minimum cash drop that you can find in the world to $500, up from $100. Same with cash registers, and then also all the supply boxes were increased as well. Armor plates and vest. Again, I've covered this before, but I'm just going over it for people who are just watching my video for the first time. All players now have a 3-plate armor vest at all times, so there's no more picking up the 3-plate vest. You just start with it. So again, back towards Warzone 1, where you were going to start with 2 plates in when you spawn in, but you'll immediately have the ability to put 3 plates in if you find those 3 plates. Players will also spawn in with a different number of equipped armor plates depending on the following: infill deployment. So this is the start of the match. You'll start with 2 plates, Gulag redeployment, and Resurgence redeployment. So if you respawn from the Gulag, you'll actually come back with 3 plates now, which is good because you come back in, you usually don't have the best weapon, you usually don't have good plates, you're dropping into people that might have loadout weapons, so that's a good change there, I think. Give you a little bit more of a chance against those players. Resurgence redeployment, so this is for the small map. Players will redeploy with 2 plates. Perk packages, players will now be able to customize their own perk packages. So I'm a little bit worried about this because I feel like there could be some really, really meta, overpowered combos of perks. But we will see. They've disabled Overclock and Bird's Eye. Bird's Eye was the one that was kind of busted, where you could see like everybody on the map if anyone popped UAV. So that was, it's good that that's disabled while they rework it. Buy stations, spawn locations have been adjusted. All spawn locations will be static across each map. That's a good thing because now you know there's going to be a buy station there rather than random spawning buy stations each map. I think it's something they're trying to do is strike the balance between the RNG of a BR and stuff that you know is going to be there. And I feel like that's probably kind of tough to figure out where it should be along that spectrum. But this is one of those things that I think everyone's just going to like. You know where the buy stations are, so you can spawn in. And when you need to, if you know a buy station's there, it's going to be there. Loadout drop markers have an unlimited stock at all buy stations, and prices have been reduced. So solos, 8,000, duos, 12,000, trios, 16,000, quads, 20,000. This is very close to what I wanted. I think these numbers are really good. It's going to give you incentive with these custom perk packages to actually buy your loadout now instead of just buying weapons, because the perks are going to be pretty good. So these prices, I think, are pretty reasonable. Strongholds and Black Sites. So Strongholds and Black Sites were kind of OP. If you did them in Season 1, you could get your loadout at the first one and a bunch of good items, and then you'd go do the Black Site. You get advanced UAV, large backpack, durable gas mask, a million different streaks. Like, they were super, super good. Basically, that's how you win matches, is you just do Stronghold Black Site every match. They were kind of challenging in some cases. So yesterday I played with a squad that we literally had a combined KD of probably like 20 or 25 between the 4 of us, and we just got absolutely destroyed at one of the black sites by the AI. It was actually hilarious. But so I think it's good that they've reduced the AI combatant damage. So assault rifle down to 22 from 34, because like if it was like 3 AI and they take like 20 bullets to kill, they have a crazy amount of health. So on top of having high damage and having a crazy amount of health, I think it's good for most players that they reduce that a little bit, make it more accessible to people. AI combatants in Strongholds or Black Sites will evacuate the area during the final 3 circles. So that is basically AI won't be in the game at the end of the match. And I think that's a good thing, because it just gets really annoying at the end of the match. I mean, it's annoying all the time, but it's clear that they want this to be in the game. So it is, it's going to stay, I'm sure. So Champions Quest. So this is the Nuke quest. An adjustment to difficulty. I don't know what that means. If I had to guess, it's probably harder. I hope. I don't know. I just want it to be something that's really special. Like, I don't want it to be accessible to everyone. Some things should be, some things shouldn't be. And I think nuking a Warzone match should be really difficult. It was already really difficult. But I think I was surprised at how many people got nukes, to be honest. Like, you see, at least in my matches, I see a lot of people with nuke skins and nuke emblems and stuff like that. So I've been a little bit surprised by that. So we'll see what they did to it. Not sure. You can no longer get the FTAC Recon Brass Tacks blueprint from the nuke reward from Season 1. And then all the other Champions Quest rewards remain the same. So you can still get the nuke skin for the operator. But I like this. If they keep rotating, keep changing up what you have to do for the nuke each season, and keep giving us slightly different rewards, I think that's super cool. Like, I would love to want to get a nuke every season, as well as playing Warzone Ranked once it comes out. Backpack and inventory. Loot will now drop out of all the containers in the world, similar to supply boxes. So this basically is like pinata loot, they call it, where you open something and it just kind of spreads loot everywhere. And I think this is a big W personally. I hate that with the current system or the old system from Season 1, you had to sit there and sit perfectly still while you're looting and switching things up in your inventory. I liked Warzone 1 because I could continue moving, target the things as I'm moving. It just makes it, with a low time to kill like this, if you can't move while you're looting, you're going to get just melted anytime someone sees you before you know they're there. Like, you can't get out of the menu sometimes, you can't move, and it's just super frustrating. As well as in combat, like when you kill someone and you need plates, hopefully now if you run over their body, you're going to pick up their plates automatically, rather than before they would be inside the backpack and you'd have to run up to them, open the backpack, inevitably get shot by the teammate, and then get angry. So I'm hoping that change will really help the flow of the game in a lot of different ways. Medium and large backpacks are no longer in the game. You basically just have a small backpack the entire time, and this does mean that you can no longer carry a third weapon ever. That's something that the more win grindy, sweaty players are going to be probably sad about, because it was kind of a unique mechanic to have 3 different weapons. You could carry a sniper, a mid-range gun, and a SMG all at the same time, and that was pretty fun, but it was a lot to manage, and I think a very, very small percentage of the community were actually doing that ever. Next point says, when players expend an item in their active loadout, stored items from the backpack will no longer fill that slot. So basically right now, if you have 40 extra sniper ammo in your backpack and you reload once with your sniper, it's going to pull that ammo out of your backpack and put it into the ammo slot automatically. So I don't really like this change. The only 2 items that will automatically pull out of your backpack into your active loadout, they call it a loadout, which is confusing, but loadout's like everything that's automatic that you can carry one of no matter what, which would be like a self-res, a streak, ammo, armor plates, things like that. So it's not like the weapons only, it's talking about other things that are in your backpack. So it says armor plates and ammunition will still autofill from your backpack. So I feel like this isn't really a whole lot different. But we'll see. It says the changes above should reduce the impact of stacking medical supplies, equipment, and kill streaks. I guess that's true for the backpack size, but I guess this change doesn't really affect that at all, because those didn't auto-equip before. Self-res may have auto-equipped, but like streaks and stuff didn't auto-equip. You had to go into your menu and select them after you used one. So I don't know. Overall, I like the changes. I am a little bit sad we don't have medium-large backpacks, but I don't know. I wish they were a little bit smaller. I wish they still let you hold that third weapon, and I wish they restricted kill streaks to maybe 2 kill streaks per backpack, and then maybe 2 self-reses on your person at any one time, rather than being able to just fill every slot with those things. So I don't know. It's a good change. At least in the meantime, we'll see if they tweak it anymore. A second loadout drop public event has been added. The drops happen in the 1st and 5th circles. So happening in the 1st circle is really, really early. I love loadouts. I feel like 1st circle is a little bit too early though, because this just means that, well, we'll see. I guess it could be fun, because it could mean that the whole lobby is still going to be alive, and you're really going to have to fight for that loadout, especially because they're expensive. But I just feel like 1st circle is really early. But again, could be fun. I don't know. So 1st circle, 5th circle, you get a loadout drop now. Again, I've talked about this, but we've got the 1v1 Gulag coming back. There's going to be a bunch of different weapons in there now, not just like pistols and shotguns. So I think that'll be, I don't know, I think it'll be a good change. I actually didn't mind the 2v2 Gulag, but I know most people were really, really frustrated by it. I thought it was kind of fun to sometimes get 2 kills. But yeah, when you're a sweaty player and you get a bad teammate, that's not fun. That's not fun for anyone. So I think that's a good change overall. All right, on to general improvements now. Pre-match loadout selection. So you can edit loadouts while you're in the pre-match lobby for these Warzone matches, which is really nice. Again, they're building these features back in from Warzone 1. Plating improvements. Global plating animation speed increased by approximately 25%. So I think you're just going to be able to plate faster now, which no one, I don't think, really asked for, but it's a nice change. It'll be nice to get your plates back on quicker. Movement speed increased while plating. This is what they said they were going to do, and then the next line says players can now sprint while plating. And we were specifically told that was not the case in the creator call, so I'm not sure what to believe. Obviously, we'll just have to jump in and play. Players can now bust through doors while plating. They did say that in the creator's call, so it was like they said that you could increase the movement speed would be a little bit faster, and you'd be able to smash through doors now. but they definitely said specifically that you would not be able to sprint while plating. So I'm not sure which is correct. Ping visibility, this is a big one. Each squad member has a unique color highlighting their pings. This is something from Warzone 1 that I just didn't make it to Warzone 2 somehow. But pings were so hard to see when everything was black and white, and then also the pings were black and white. So that's a really good change there. So interrogation, the reveal mechanic has been changed from an orange outline to a red marker to remain consistent with similar mechanics. So it just looks more like a UAV now. Improve the separation of loot on steep inclines and in tight areas. So that's probably for the pinata loot there. UI UX, so combat records. Combat records came online as part of Season 2. This means that you now have statistics, so you can see your different stats for Warzone 2. Nothing from Season 1 carries over, though. They had announced that before, so we already knew that that was going to be the case. They've also added a play again feature, so at the end of the match, you can just play again and keep going. All right, on to DMZ. So there's a new exclusion zone, obviously. I said I wasn't going to say the name of the island. The new small map. The new small map has DMZ modes as well, so that's pretty cool. That'll give some variability to what people want to play. A bunch of new rewards, new bosses, new weapons cases, everything. So DMZ is actually a really popular mode. I've played it a little bit. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's got a lot of potential long term as they kind of figure out what people actually want from it and kind of update to that. But it was very much a brand new mode that they were just trying out with Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2. So I think as they develop it more, it'll be even better. Faction mission progress has been reset for Season 2. If you unlocked the insured weapon slots, you get to keep those, but the mission progress was reset. Contraband weapon inventories have been reverted to starting weapons. So if you had any weapons in your contraband weapon inventory, that is now gone. Key stashes have been emptied. So it's kind of like a semi-refresh of progress, but you get to keep your insured weapon slots. Mission refresh. New missions have been set. New missions sets have arrived with Season 2 for all players. So there's new missions, new types of missions. New mission sets will send players to all 3 exclusion zones of DMZ. So the 3 different maps you can play DMZ on. You have to go to all of those to finish all the missions, it sounds like. Key stash can now hold items for missions, so players can transport them across exclusion zones to complete objectives. So that's cool. So there's going to be some that you'll have to do in one map. You'll get a key there that you have to take to the other map. I think that's pretty neat. Just some general gameplay tweaks here. So enemy tuning, they adjusted the lethality of the AI across the different maps. So I don't know if that means some of them, it probably just means some of them got buffed, some of them got nerfed. Locations, so the infiltration locations, people had like memorized those in DMZ on Al Mazrah, so now they're going to be a little bit different. So basically a lot of the time you'd spawn in and immediately get pushed by a team. So now that they've mixed those up, it'll take a little bit for the community to get back to that. Same plating improvements, same ping visibility, same interrogation changes from Warzone 2. Okay, so that is everything I wanted to cover. Super long video, obviously, but there's just a lot of stuff to talk about. The community is very polarized on this. A lot of people are like kind of negative about this update, and I just don't get that. Like genuinely, I don't understand how you can be upset with this update. I think they've done so many good things for Warzone. I could see how you could be upset for other game modes, but for Warzone, I feel like this update's great, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting ranked. We're getting all these changes, pushing us back towards what made Warzone 1 special. So I'm very happy with this update. But hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy Season 2. Let me know down in the comments what you think of these changes, and I will see you in the next video.